Hey guys, welcome back to my channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now in today's video, we're going to be taking a dive into the world of FinTech, and we're going to be looking at a company that I've been following for some time. I've been waiting to start a position in this company, and it just recently hit my price alert of $200 US. So the company name is Square. It's a very popular company in this space. The CEO, Jack Dorsey, is extremely well known. He's also the founder and CEO of Twitter. So a lot of people follow this company, and I think it's going to provide some really valuable insight if you're looking to start a position, or maybe you've already invested in this company and you want to understand in a little bit more detail what they do and some of the new revenue streams that they're bringing online here. Now, as of the time of filming, I don't currently hold any shares in Square, but I am looking to start a position in this company right away here. I don't have any exposure to the banking or financial industry as I just sold off my JP Morgan shares. So I'm looking at this company as a potential way to gain exposure into the financial sector in my portfolio. Now, before we get into the video, please take a second to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Without further ado, let's roll the intro clip and get into this week's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today we're going to be talking about Square Inc. Now this is possibly one of the most talked about stocks in the fintech space, and you can see that because of all that excitement around this name, the share price has been on an absolute tear over the last 12 to 14 months. If we pull out to a 5-year chart, you can see right in March of last year when the pandemic situation started, this stock was down in the low 50s, 52.38. And if we look now at a 6-month chart, you can see that this actually peaked out right around $280. So almost a 5 to 6x from where it was trading about 14 months ago. Now since then, it has pulled back, and that's why I'm so excited about entering this position right now. So I actually put an alert out on this company at just over $200. And you can see on March 8th here, it actually hit 201. Now, just recently in the last couple of days, it's also came very close to that $200 level. So you can see on March 29th here, it was trading just under $204. And I think this is a very attractive entry point for this company. Now, as of today's close, you can see it closed just under $212, which gives it about a $95 billion market cap. So under $100 billion, and that was really the mental number I had in my mind where I wanted to start building this position. Now, if we zoom back out to a 1 year, you can see that there's pretty strong support right around this low 200, 215 kind of range, 216. It is trading a little bit below that. So I do feel like this is a fairly safe entry point for a company like this. We're going to talk about not only their Square seller app, but also their Cash App platform throughout the video here. And this company, as you open up the hood and start to look at all the different things they have in the pipeline and the different revenue streams, gets me really excited as an investor. Now, for those of you that follow the channel, you know that I don't have a lot of exposure in the financial or banking space. So Square definitely checks off a few of those boxes for me. And this is one that I can really see growing substantially over the next 5 to 10 years. And if you look at some of the other big banks, like for example a JP Morgan, you can see their market cap is up close to $500 billion, $471 billion. So if we then take a look back at Square at sub 100 billion, I definitely think a 4 to 5x is possible. I feel like the banking industry is really ripe for an overhaul. A lot of people don't like dealing with traditional banks, and they have a really bad taste in their mouth about a lot of these big financial institutions. So I think an up and coming, young, fresh, innovative company like Square is really in a great spot to dominate this type of market, not to mention some of the new integrations they offer, like the Cash Card and Bitcoin and fractional purchases that we'll talk about throughout the video here. Now, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention on this page, if you scroll down, you can see that they actually have beaten their earning per share estimate the last 3 quarters in a row. They are now profitable, and you can see down here in terms of revenue, absolutely fantastic growth profile. And if we look at their quarterly performance, you can see now in Q4, they're really starting to make some substantial profit and earnings to back up that top line growth. So probably most of you have seen this company in action. They started out with literally the little squares that plugged into the headphone jack of either an iPad or your iPhone or whatever the case. And since then, they've really grown into a Goliath of a fintech type company. So we're going to go through this company in a good amount of detail here, both their Square terminal technology as well as their recently launched Cash App, which I'm really excited about as well. The company's bread and butter really is in these terminal payment solutions, and this is an example of what these look like now. So they've evolved obviously over the years from the little Square device that plugs into your iPhone, and they're now offering these all-in-one credit card slash debit machines that you would see at any retail location. Obviously, they've enhanced the experience for customers, but this is essentially the bread and butter of the company. So as you scroll down here, very straightforward. Everybody's familiar with these. Great way to take payments, get paid, and no surprises for the end retailer or the customer. Now, they have done a number of improvements on these terminals. So they now accept tap, chip insert with your PIN number, or actually swiping the stripe. So they have evolved from that initial just swipe interaction. And the other thing that they really offer here is a simplified fee framework and data security. So in the age of evolving cybersecurity threats and financial scams, this company has really established itself as a trusted provider and partner to these retailers, which allows them to offer enhanced experience and additional data analytics that the companies can use after the sale has been completed. So as you scroll down, you can see they talk about data security here. And then another kind of value add this company provides is actually payment disputes. So the vendor can rest assured that Square will actually deal with the bank and avoid some of those chargebacks or lengthy dispute processes that can happen from fraudulent transactions or maybe suspicious activity on the network. So in terms of the company's vision statement, it's all about economic empowerment. Square is a cohesive commerce ecosystem that helps sellers start, run, and grow their businesses. We combine sophisticated software with affordable hardware to enable sellers to turn mobile and computing devices into powerful payment and point-of-sale solutions. So the key here is that they've really identified small business as their niche or entry point, and they've tried to make it as simple, straightforward, and cost-effective for these small retailers to start taking non-cash payments. Now we're going to talk about Square's strategy and their shift to medium and large cap companies, but this is really where the company made a name for itself originally. Our tools help sellers make informed business decisions through the use of analytics and reportings. Sellers can manage orders, inventory, locations, and employees, engage customers, and grow their sales and gain access to business loans. So since their initial launch, they've now expanded into this full economic ecosystem, and they're really looking at helping nurture these companies on an end-to-end scale. And we're going to talk about a lot of those value adds down the road here in the presentation. But that's why I'm so excited about this company is they've got their foot in the door with a lot of these retailers already as their point of sale solution. And now they're expanding their product lineup and they're opening that stack up to a number of other value add and revenue driving opportunities. They then go on to say our approach is the same with Cash App. We see an opportunity to build a similar ecosystem of services for individuals, providing financial access to all and allowing anyone to send, spend, and save money all from one app. So they've now branched out, and this is another element that I'm extremely excited about, and they've seen how well this financial services type of industry works in the retail setting or commercial setting, and they now want to take this same philosophy and apply it to individuals, which opens up a whole new gateway in terms of revenue opportunities. And when you look at these two platforms together or holistically, it really does speak to that economic empowerment. Whether people are spending, saving, investing, it really doesn't matter. Square now offers a platform for all of those different services and needs for individuals and consumers alike. Now, we obviously couldn't make this video without talking about the CEO and founder, Jack Dorsey. So this guy has been in the news a bunch lately. He's obviously one of the most active and well-known CEOs in the fintech industry and in social media. So for those of you who are unaware, Jack Dorsey actually co-founded and is the CEO of Twitter. So you can see they talk about that right here. And then in addition to that, he's also the co-founder and CEO of Square Inc., which is obviously what we're talking about in this video. But that in itself is pretty impressive to be CEO of two of these major, massive companies at the same time. And it really speaks to this guy's bandwidth, intelligence, and work ethic. Now, two things I wanted to point out here. So Square filed for IPO to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange on October 14th, 9th, 2015. So it's been on there for just over 5 years. And at that point in time, Dorsey owned just about a quarter of the company. So that's really exciting for me to see that he's so invested in this company's success and he has such a big stake in the game personally. The other thing that's worth noting here, you can see that in 2020, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation permitted Square to open a bank, which allows them to actually get into the Square financial services this year. So that's going to be really exciting, especially as this Cash App continues to gain traction and they're now moving into that kind of traditional banking space, which obviously has a ton of money and market potential in itself. So to kick things off, this slide I think really helps picture or envisions the two different ecosystems and all the different opportunities that each one has. So on the left hand side here, the blue, you obviously have Square. This is the seller technology, so you can see they focus on everything from the hardware to payroll, manage payments, banking business, and even team management and things like scheduling. So you can see they're really ramping up on that side of the house, and they've started to launch all different types of value-added solutions in addition to that point of sale transaction. Then on the right side here, you have the Cash App, which again is meant for the individual consumer or individual finance management, and they're handling everything from direct deposits, peer-to-peer lending or transfers, cross-border, so currency exchange, stocks, cash cards, and then finally Bitcoin. So Jack Dorsey is a huge advocate of Bitcoin, and they're really using Cash App as a platform that's going to enable regular everyday individuals to start holding, trading, and spending Bitcoin, which I think is extremely exciting for a fintech company like this. And I think it's crucial to become kind of the first mover in this space. And I think Square is very well positioned to do so. Obviously, there's other competitors like PayPal, but I think Square definitely has a good chance at becoming the leader in this space. So this slide is a great follow-up to the last one, and this actually shows the breakdown of their gross profit in millions. So you can see in 2015, $345 million all came from the seller or Square profit side of the house. Now, as we move into 2016, you can see the growth in gross profit for that division up to nearly 600 million. 2017 is when the Cash App came online and immediately started contributing about $47 million of gross profit. They were able to quadruple that by 2018. By 2019, the Cash App represented about $460 million of gross profit. And what's really exciting is by 2020, the two sides of the house have almost balanced out. So the Cash App is now producing $1.2 billion of gross profit annually versus the seller or the Square side of the house, which is doing about 1.5 billion. And this is extremely exciting to see that now they've got two extremely strong and healthy business units, where only a few years ago they were down to just the single Square side of things. And that's so exciting as an investor. Number one, to see they're having these great ideas. And then secondly, to see that they're able to scale them and get them up to this tremendous amount of profit within just 4 short years. So now they get into the actual market opportunity. So they consider the sellers platform or the actual Square platform to be $100 billion plus industry, while the individual side of things or the Cash App to be about a $60 billion plus industry. So together it's about $160 billion in terms of overall market opportunity. And each of these has significant upside for this company. So right now they have about a 3% penetration on the seller business side of things and just under 2% penetration on the individual or the Cash App side of the house. So we're now going to break these down and talk about each division or each side of the company independently. So you can see here they call out $85+ billion opportunity. And if you scroll down, you can see they then start to layer in things like the international markets, new product and use cases, and that's what actually gets them up over that $100 billion estimate that we saw on the previous slide. But if we look at what's currently in the pipeline, they estimate about $39 billion worth of transaction profit is available per year, $30 billion in terms of financial software, $12 billion in terms of Square Capital and the actual lending and investing side of things, and then $5 billion in the financial services space. And this is what's so cool about this company. It's so interesting interesting to see where they started with the little Square that just simply took payments to where they've come now in these multiple different billion-dollar plus verticals. So this slide really talks about those verticals in more detail. So you can see here, they break it down into the actual platform itself. They then look at API integration, so payment integrations, commerce and integrations, and then actual partner app marketplace. So we won't go through all of these in a lot of detail, but you can see, for example, the platform has to do with the actual hardware or devices that are in the stores, the payments, whether it's in person or online, and then that risk management and disputes section that we talked about at the start of the video. So if we now move into the payment API section here, you can see they've got their point of sale terminals, they've got their marketing, loyalty, gift card, kind of customer appreciation segment. Then they've got their employee tracking and reporting. So this is almost moving into kind of the HR realm or team management overall. And then they've got their e-commerce platform or their Square online storefront. They then get into their software services. So they're talking about things like booking appointments, invoicing, and in kind of virtual terminals for these customers. They've also got specific software for a retail experience, Square for Retail, and for the restaurant or food and drink space. So again, those are high value added revenue driving platforms that enable businesses to really optimize and maximize their efficiency. And then finally, they've got their financial services sector. So that's going to be access to funds, lending, instant deposits, stuff like that. They've got a payroll services, and then they've also got their Square Capital financing. And that's where the bank division is really going to come into play and be able to leverage some of that traditional financial support that companies need from different lenders. So now that we've talked about what the seller or the Square platform actually offers, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this slide to really differentiate why they're winning versus some of their competitors. Obviously, the fintech space is hyper competitive. There's a lot of money, and as a result of this big opportunity, there's a lot of different people that are interested in serving this market. But I feel like personally, Square is at the leading edge of that group, and they're really well positioned to take market share over the coming years. So we'll go through these very quickly. Again, if you are interested in Square yourself, I encourage you to do your own due diligence and to look into these in more detail. But at a high level, I think this really hits the nail on the head. So they're focused on technology. They've got integrated end-to-end hardware, software, payment, and data solutions, which we just talked about briefly on the last slide. They've got comprehensive full-service offering that manages the entire payment lifecycle end-to-end. They've got automated risk management or risk assessment, which uses AI and machine learning to continually improve itself. They've got powerful omni-channel or multi-channel capabilities that allow the sellers to engage with the buyers wherever they are, and that's what we talked about, kind of that data analytics after the sale has been made. They utilize an open platform, which actually benefits the sellers, developers, partner, and Square itself, because people can expand the functionality continually as business needs change or evolve. They've got very strong brand presence with a net promoter score of 64, which is actually 2 times the average for the banking service or the financial industry. So a lot of people really traditionally don't like dealing with banks, and Square's been able to go into this space and really overhaul the customer experience and get it to a place where people are twice as happy dealing with Square than some of these traditional lenders or banking providers. And then finally, they've got self-serve onboarding, so very accessible and easy for people to get involved with this company, and then scalable distribution channels. So as your company grows, Square and the products that they offer will grow with you. And then like we saw in the gross profit breakdown, they have actually hit now about $430 million in gross profit during their most recent quarter in 2020, so Q4, which is up 13% year over year. Now this slide's also extremely interesting. So we talked about Square making their mark in this industry really with the small individual retailers. That's kind of how they came online. They've now started moving up the stack, so they're starting to get involved with more mid-size and large-size businesses. And a lot of times what happens as you do that is your initial investment costs go way higher. It's a lot harder in terms of marketing and offering incentives to get these big providers or big companies away from their current financial provider and entice them to come over and try Square. So traditionally what you'll see is the payback period for some of these big fish is a lot longer than some of the mom and pop or entry level retailers. So what you'll actually see on the right here, GPV is gross payment volume. So these are companies that do, in the blue, between 125,000 and 500,000 of annualized gross payment volume. Now in the gray is companies that do over 500,000 K of annualized gross payment volume. So you can see as the years go on here, this is Q4 over the last 6 fiscal years, so 2015 to 2020. You can see the proportion of gray to blue is actually growing, and it now represents about half of their overall customer base. Whereas back in 2015, it was well below half. So they've really focused on these big enterprises or bigger companies that are doing a lot more payment volume. And then on the left-hand side here, you can see the actual payback period. So this is expressed in quarters, and you can see they've really hovered right around that 3.5 to 3/4 payback period. So despite the actual volume of big businesses going up throughout the years, their payback period has actually stayed relatively flat and even declined in 2018. Now in the blue is their go-to-market spend, so they are spending more to acquire these companies, but because they're doing so much more volume and generating so much more revenue for Square, the payback period itself is actually staying relatively consistent. So now we're going to shift gears and talk about the Cash App side of the house or ecosystem. So they mentioned this represents a $60+ billion opportunity, and this is kind of how they break that down. So 20 billion in actual sending fees and service fees, 41 billion in personal spending related opportunity, and then $2 billion in investing. And I think this one is a very conservative number, especially as we start to see more and more millennials now starting to get involved with investing, cryptocurrencies, things of that nature. I can definitely see this number being lowball here and growing tremendously from what they've stated. So very similar to what we saw on the seller or the Square portion of the presentation, but this is why they feel like the Cash App is able to win versus some of the other personal finance apps or competitors out there. So they've now got over 36 million monthly customers, which are using the app an average of 15 times per month. They've got 7 million on the Cash Card itself, which is 2 times what they had last year, and they're transacting multiple times per week. They're extremely quick to innovate, so they've launched the Cash Card, direct deposit functionality, ATM withdrawals, cross-border, and buying and selling Bitcoin and fractional equities. So you can actually go in and buy portions of a stock or a share in a company, which again really appeals to those millennial investors. They've got a super low acquisition cost, so it costs under $5 to get somebody onboarded to this platform. Extremely good margins, so over 130% gross profit retention. And they're actually getting 6 times their return on investment over the initial 3 years of having someone on this platform. And then to sum things up, again, we saw this in that breakdown slide, but just about $380 million in gross profit during just Q4 of 2020, which is up 162% year over year. So phenomenal growth rates. And that's exactly why we're seeing the Cash App portion of this company start to scale so rapidly and now become in line with the Seller or the Square division that was this company's bread and butter originally. And this slide really breaks down the different revenue streams within the Cash App side of the company. So again, you can see in 2016, virtually nothing. 2017 was virtually all sending revenue. They then started to get some spending revenue mixed in there. 2019, you can see overall growth is tremendous, and they're really starting to diversify their revenue from the sending into the spending. And then now in 2020, you can start to see that investing revenue come online and actually make a pretty substantial impact to overall revenue. So overall, you can see just absolutely exponential revenue growth for this division of the company. And I personally think this investing component here is going to grow extremely fast as people continue to adopt this platform. So this slide shows overall monthly transactions, and you can see they call out a 10x growth over the past 4 years. So in December of 2016, they were doing about 3 million transactions per month. Now in December of 2020, they're up over 36 million. So again, not only are the users and the revenue growing, but the frequency and the amount of times they're using this platform each and every month is also growing exponentially. And to wrap things up on the cash side, I just wanted to show this slide. Very similar growth profile to the Square app. So they started out with that individual product. In this case, it was peer-to-peer sending. They then layered in the Cash Card and Boost, and then now most recently the direct deposit functionality, the stock purchasing, and the Bitcoin purchasing slash trading. So again, as an investor, this is what's so exciting in this company is they're extremely innovative. They're able to come up with new products and combinations of products that consumers want and need, and then they're able to ramp and scale this stuff effectively in a very short amount of time. And that's why these kind of companies in the fintech space command such high valuations and premiums, because they really are innovative at their core, and they're able to ramp these ideas at such a quick pace with such a huge TAM or total addressable market. However, I feel like with the recent pullback in this space and our ability to get this stock sub $100 billion valuation at around a $200 or $210 share price is extremely attractive to me as an investor. So as mentioned at the start of the video, I currently don't have a lot of exposure in the banking or fintech space, and I've been watching this company for some time, waiting for a pullback and for an entry point around that $100 billion market cap level. So for me, I think the timing is right, and I am going to start building up a position in this company over the next couple of months. I will continue to post any trades or buys that I make in both the public and private accounts so you guys can follow along. If you haven't already, please take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think of Square in the comment section below and how you think this company stacks up to some of the other competitors in this space like PayPal. On a final note, you guys, please make sure you have a great rest of your day.